Nintendo unveiled the Switch 2 a couple weeks ago, and it seems pretty promising, but is there an issue with the pricing? Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to Enter the Internet. We discuss video game and tech news here. If you're new, please like and subscribe. My name is Jordan. This is my trusty co-host, Cold Beer. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, so the Switch 2 was finally unveiled a couple weeks ago, as mentioned earlier, and we finally got to take a look under the hood, see a little bit more of the hardware and the specs that are going to be going into it, and kind of compare it to some of the other handhelds that are out in the market right now. We will get to the games in a second. There was a lot of big announcements with the games, and I know all of this stuff has probably been said on a bunch of other videos, but we just wanted to give our take and give our opinion about everything we saw and heard from the Switch 2 announcement and everything that's kind of been announced since then, all the news and everything. So one of the biggest features they started off with is voice chat. They're basically implementing their own shitty version of Discord into Nintendo Switch. It just looks downright awful. It just looks like Skype from 2011 when you're trying to video chat with your friends.
Yeah, I don't know how popular that's gonna be. The video that we saw when on the presentation, they showed 4 different people FaceTiming or chatting with the camera on while they were playing a game, and it's just super choppy.
Yeah, it looks like it's 360p or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, I guess I kind of understand it, and here's the only reason that I say that. When my nephew and my niece play Roblox on their iPads, when they're far away from each other, they always FaceTime and have each other on a corner, just seeing each other's faces. Maybe they're aiming at the new generation of customers.
That may be true. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really have young children to see how they interact. Obviously, a lot of kids don't have Discords, or maybe they don't have phones, like you mentioned. So this is that way for them to be able to kind of communicate and see each other and play games and interact without having to get a computer, Discord, or cell phone with all that stuff on it.
Yeah, that's the only argument I can do for that video chat. I mean, it's a feature, right? I mean, even if I don't use it, it's good that it's there. I think it would have been nice for it to be Discord instead.
I think it's just crazy that it took Nintendo this long to finally implement voice chat into their software, considering Xbox has had voice chat since, 2003 on the original Xbox, back with the original Halo days, when Xbox Live first became a thing.
Does anybody know that your friend is a little girl and you actually might be sitting next to her on a date?
I know.
So again, voice chat's been around forever, and don't worry, Nintendo is going to lock it behind a paywall. They said it's going to be about a year before, it's going to be free for a year, and then they're going to lock it behind a paywall after that. So that way everyone can try it out for a year if you get the Switch 2 within the first year of it being out. It might be a little difficult to get a Nintendo Switch 2 just based off some of the political views in the country as of right now, but we will not get into that.
Boo, tariffs.
One of the next big features they mentioned was local game share, where if one person has the cartridge, you can share it locally on a network, or if you're next to somebody else with a Nintendo Switch, so you can both play that same game without both having to go buy 2 physical copies of the game. I think that's actually a pretty nice feature, as we just mentioned with kids and obviously families. It's when you have 2 kids, it's hard to buy 2 copies of the same game. It's $120, or it's going to be $160 pretty soon. But again, we're going to get into that later in the video. But yeah, like I said, that's a lot of money. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons they did do that, because they are raising the prices on their games. They're making it a little bit easier. You only got to buy 1 game. And like I said, if you have multiple kids or whatever, you guys can all share it. And I think they set up to 4 devices total.
Did they mention how it works? Because to me, it looked like it worked in a way where you would play a party game and then other people can join your game. But I don't know if it's straight up sharing the game, and like, I don't know if you can share Elden Ring like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work like that. I think it's only going to be, like you said, party games and multiplayer games. Yeah, you'll be able to all join in. I mean, maybe you will be. That would be pretty cool. Like I said, if you could do co-op, but co-op in Elden Ring is obviously a little different, so you have to summon. So that's completely different thing. We're getting into different stuff now. They're just talking about playing Mario Kart and Mario Party and getting your friends in to play that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
The physical hardware, moving on, it's a 7.9-inch screen. It is not an OLED, but it is HDR. 7.9 means it's bigger than the 7-inch Steam Deck, even the OLED version. It's also bigger than the original Switch screen, obviously. So it's a pretty big improvement, actually, while still also keeping the console pretty small and handheld, which I think is pretty unique. Like I said, it's 1080p, and some games will be able to get up to 120. Most games are going to be able to hit 60. It seems like they showed Breath of the Wild hitting 60 smoothly, which us PC gamers have had that for a long time with the Yuzu app and other Wii U
emulators.
Yeah, emulators, stuff like that, which have now been taken down.
It's nothing but an upgrade. A bigger screen, HDR 10, 1080p, and up to 120 hertz. Sign me up.
Yeah, I wish it would be an OLED, because I do have the Switch OLED, and playing that, I don't have a Steam Deck OLED. I have the OG Steam Deck, which you have the OLED Steam Deck, don't you?
I do.
How did you get to play them side by side at all and kind of compare, or how would you rate your OLED Steam Deck compared to your...
I prefer OLED on everything that I can get my hands on, just because it's just a lot nicer. It just looks a lot more premium. The picture's better, everything. It makes the game feel better, just by the way it looks. They will reveal an OLED edition somewhere in the future, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, and
just
again...
Like with the original Switch.
Yeah, again, just another way for them to make money and come out with different editions down the line, because that's what Nintendo does. Just look at the DS and the 3DS. There's 700 different versions of both of those consoles. So yeah, I definitely think, as Cold Beer just mentioned, they are going to release a OLED version down the line. We talked about after you and me watched the first trailer for the Switch, we talked about them looking like the Joy-Cons are going to snap into the console itself, and that is true. They do snap in magnetically. It is not going to be the slide-on feature like the original Switch, so no more of the... So yeah, no more of the snapping in there, and it's just going to magnetically slide in there, which makes me question the durability of it, because, like I said, I feel like those little magnetic strips in there look like they can bend pretty easily. I know the original Switch is actually pretty sturdy. I've showed videos of some guy, I think, dropped a Switch from an airplane onto a parking lot ground, and it still worked. The Switch one was sturdy. They knew obviously kids are going to be dropping it and handling it a lot, drooling on it, all that stuff, so they built it pretty sturdy. Yeah. I think this one's going to be the same way, but I don't know, like I said, it just looks a little fragile, and that worries me. I obviously take good care of my stuff, but again, I'm just worried for other kids, young kids, and parents that might have to buy a new set of Joy-Cons, because Joy-Cons, a new set of Joy-Cons is not cheap. A new set of Joy-Cons is going to run you...
$9 some.
So it's going to run you $10 more than the original Joy-Cons. But another feature, which we discussed about as well in the previous videos, you're going to be able to use the Joy-Con as a mouse. Just twist it over and use the triggers as the mice button, left and right trigger. I think that's actually pretty cool. I don't know what games are actually going to utilize this. I know people have already mentioned use it because Civ 6, I think, is on the Switch, and people say that that's obviously more of like a point-and-click based game, so people probably use it for that. I wonder even for, I don't know, I wonder what other type of games that we're going to be using mouse and keyboard on. But a couple other random things I just want to run through here before we get into the games and the bulk of what we're here to talk about today. They upgraded to a 256 internal storage for certain models. They obviously have a lower storage model as well. I think it's 64 gigs like the original. Switch dock has a fan in it now. I know a lot of people complained about the Switch bending because it would get too hot. If you played it exclusively in the dock, it would overheat and end up kind of either warping or bending a little bit. Now you have to use the micro SD card. It's just a new, more expensive micro SD card that they're going to make you buy to use with the Switch 2.
We're moving into a PlayStation 5 kind of era or Xbox Series X that use nothing but fast storage. It just makes the games load faster. The whole system, just interacting with it, will be faster. So I'm guessing that's why they made the Switch, because it's still a SD card size. It's not like a proprietary thing.
Yeah, and like you said, obviously new consoles use SSD cards, and there's some PC games that say this game has to be installed on an SSD. You can't put it on just a regular hard drive because, like you said, it requires those quick loading speeds. So it's probably why they're switching to these new SD cards, because they have faster reading speeds and all that stuff. So it would make sense. Now on to the gaming news, the actual games for the console, which me and Cold Beer here are very, very excited for. And anyone who has watched any of our videos knows that we are huge From Software fans. So first off, they're putting Elden Ring on the Switch 2, which is fucking insane. I never thought that FromSoft would be partnering with Nintendo. And not only that, FromSoft is releasing an exclusive game on the Nintendo Switch called Duskbloods. It's going to be more of like an online, like extraction type game. They obviously showed a little bit of a trailer and the Nintendo Direct. The gameplay is still a little up in the air on exactly what it is. It's another FromSoft game, and I'm already planning on getting a Switch 2, and this just kind of solidified it. Now I have to get it to be able to play this. So
Yeah, same here. I wasn't really planning on getting one right away, but I'm gonna have to get one eventually when the game comes out.
it's not going to be a day one Switch 2 release, but it will be. I think they said 2026 it's coming out. So
Yeah, next year.
yeah, so we'll be that, but I think Elden Ring is going to be launching, if not day one, close to day one this summer, they said. So looking forward to playing Elden Ring again on the go, on probably a worse version of it, but I will still buy it and still play it.
You're gonna get it again on the Switch too?
I mean, why not? I bought in Skyrim 20 million times.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what games are gonna be playing better that are already on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and like you said, do comparisons. We can do side-by-side comparisons, and that'll be actually a pretty interesting video, I think. I'm sure other people do the same thing, but I'll try it on competing games and see what we can do. The next big thing, which is near and dear to my heart, I almost flipped out. I know Cold Beer here doesn't really care about this, but the GameCube announcement. Nintendo fans have been waiting and asking for this forever. People have been wondering why there haven't been like Wind Waker re-releases on the Switch, and this is why they're doing the GameCube Online. Wind Waker is going to be one of the first games, and they're going to be adding a lot of classic GameCube games, and I'm very, very excited for this. I was freaking out when I first saw this. Like I said, the games part is where I got the most excited, but then came the sadness. The pricing. Console itself is going to be releasing at $450.
Kinda crazy for the console.
I don't, yeah, like you said, I don't think it's crazy. I said before they announced it was going to be $400 to $500, so literally smack dab in the middle of what I said, like you said. So kind of expected it, not too upset, but the games are going up to $80 for some games. Not every game, but like the first party Mario Party, the Mario Karts, all those games are going to be going up to $80, $90 for physical cards, which some of the cartridges are only going to have a license to download the game. You won't even have the physical game. I think Nintendo clarified and said that most of their first party games are going to have the physical game on the cartridge, as well as a license to download it. I'm not quite sure on the specifics on this. They have said that it's going to be up to third-party developers if they're going to be putting a game on the cartridge or not. That's interesting. As we just mentioned, everything, the camera is sold separately. If you want to do that FaceTime we mentioned earlier, you're gonna have to buy a separate camera, which obviously costs money. The Nintendo Switch Online I think is going up in price as well due to the GameCube Online being added and all that. And obviously the game chat, voice chat, all that's being added. So the pricing sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It does suck, but I was gonna say it does suck, but it is becoming more of a mainstream. It wants to become a mainstream console. It wants to compete with other consoles out right now. Well, in a different way. So I think that them just releasing a bunch of like games that we didn't think would release like on a handheld and then slap it on your dock and then now it's on your TV.
Exactly.
So I think that's why the price is that. But it does have a lot of features, and I think the price for the console itself is fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you mentioned, the Steam Deck, which is kind of a PC itself, it's kind of a different beast, so that starts at $400 and doesn't come with the dock. Like you said, the fact that the Switch comes with the dock included, has a fan in it, has all of these fancy features. I think it's worth the price at $450. Like I said, I planned on $400 to $500, and it's right in between that, so I can't be too mad. I would have been really upset if they priced it at $500, I'll tell you that much. I know, like I said, we're beating a dead horse at this point with this video. Everyone has said the same thing. Nintendo has gotten away with being Nintendo for too long, and people are finally putting their foot down. Nintendo never really discounts their games. They are like the lowest you're gonna get is maybe $45, $40 on Breath of the Wild, the original one that came out a day one of the Switch 9 years ago. Excuse me. 9 years ago. In March, because it came out in 2016. So either way, like I said, people have kind of let Nintendo do what they want, and now finally people are standing up. And that doesn't mean anything. Nintendo can still make the price whatever the fuck they want, and they probably are not going to change it. But it is what it is.
I feel like the most outcry that I saw was towards them increasing the price of games again.
Which, because
Not so much the console.
obviously everyone knows they're afraid. Game prices just went up to $70. People freaked out about that, and we're
80.
just now getting used to it being $70. Now Nintendo is jumping up and increasing the price to $80, so that people are thinking that's going to open the floodgates for other companies to then do the same. So that's again what I'm worried about. And I get it. The price of making games is going up. Like, look at just GTA 6. I think they said it's costing them almost $1 billion to make GTA 6. Because they know it's probably going to make them $1 billion. I don't know if that's correct, but I remember reading some article that's been like the price of how much it's making GTA 6 is going astronomical. And just game development in general, like I said, these companies are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're hiring more and more people. They're doing more testing. They're doing more outsourcing as well. So I don't know, I understand it, but like I said, it sucks because everything just feels so greedy nowadays in gaming. It's very rare that we get a game that just releases and like you get the game, here it is, and there's no microtransactions, there's no in-game seasons or season passes, DLC. Like, it's very rare that happens anymore. I can't even think of a game. I'm sure that obviously there's plenty of games that have come out recently that are like that, but I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. Elden Ring, again, obviously one of our favorite games. There's no
Yeah, I was gonna say.
there's obviously a DLC for it, which is completely optional. You can buy it, but again, it's just two set prices. You buy the game, you get it. There's no in-game purchases. You can't buy runes. You can't do whatever.
Sure, yeah, there's no microtransactions.
Exactly. It's just a straight game. You pay for it, you get the full game, and then if you want the DLC, if you want to pay more, you pay an extra $40 for the DLC, and there you go. So
well, the games are actually going to be $90 for physical copies and $80 for digit. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, that's what I said, and that's what everyone's freaking out about. Because, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these games aren't even going to have the physical. They have, oh my god, a lot of these game cartridges are not going to have the game on the cartridge. It's going to be a license to then download it from the internet, which we've talked about again in a lot of these videos. In our last video where we were talking about streaming, there's a lot of places in the world, let alone like America and a lot of these really developed countries, that have very either slow or no internet at all, and it's hard to get internet to some of these areas. So again, if you order a game online, you order the physical game, you get it to your house, you wait for it to ship there, and you put it in, you can't play it because you don't have internet. You then have to drive somewhere that has internet to be able to play the game. So I understand we're going to a very digital world, and it's very hard to find a place that does not have internet, but there are still places and homes that don't have it. So I mean, like I said, I think Nintendo needs
especially when these games are going to be 100 something gigs, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. And I still don't even
be able to go to the Starbucks. You can't go to the Starbucks and download a game real quick anymore.
Yeah, and it's like 10 minutes and you're out. You're gonna be there for a couple hours because you're gonna be downloading on 2 megabytes per second, if that. So that's gonna do it for the Switch 2 today. So let us know down below in the comments what you think of the Switch 2, what you think of the price. Are you still going to be getting one? I know I am, unfortunately. Like I said, we can't let Nintendo win, but they're gonna win. They're going to get their money in the end, and they're probably going to set the new precedent for games being $80, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. And like I said, we can't really argue it because games are just getting really expensive to make nowadays. So anyways, that's going to do it for us in this one. Please like and subscribe again if you're new here. If you're not already, that really helps us out a lot. And we will see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.